You push the lots of
Why?
buttons all the time.
Well, because I have to push the buttons on OBS, then I have to push the button on Logic Pro here, and then I have to come here and do this and bring that up. And then I have to say, this episode of Getting Tabled is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. Use code TABLE to get 5% off any order over $100, one use only. Thank you to our Patreons who support us every month.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you're all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to Getting Tabled with your host, Jason the Bruce.
Hello, folks. Computer in pieces. These two having a go at me, and I'm still here for you. Screw these two. Actually, no, I'll take that back, Socks. Screw George. I'm here for you guys, and I'm here for Socks.
I appreciate it, Bruce.
All right, time to turn off Bruce's feed.
We will explain this during Hobby Talk, I guess, because there needs to be context for that. But we also have with us the main reason everybody's here, because nobody cares about me, nobody cares about George. Everybody cares about Major Socks.
Yep, I'm here. And how many weeks am I into this empty house? 3, 4 now? And
It's
I've got
more than
about
4. We've been commenting on it for 2 podcasts.
That's true. So I have 3 more weeks of it. Actually, no, I have 4 more weeks because we don't get our stuff in Alabama until a week after we get into our new house. So I have some hobby talk to talk about too that I said I wasn't going to do it. And then, the urge broke apart and
It's because he's weak. He's so weak.
I'll show you during hobby talk.
Oh, dear. No self-control. It's absolutely disgusting.
I know. And then we have
also
George.
have with us George. Who is George? Everybody be excited.
Hi, I'm here.
Sure.
I am, I think.
Okay.
George has also forgotten to turn his camera up.
No, I got a monitor arm, and so
He's changed stuff on his computer too.
my monitor right now for recording, my monitor is sitting back another 6 to 8 inches from where it normally sits.
Fair enough.
So I actually have a better I have my mic's in a better place now, and yeah.
What's that got to do with you forgetting to turn your camera on?
My camera is on.
I can see him.
That's weird. Okay.
Anyways.
Yeah, I'm looking at myself right now. I'm picking my nose.
There's something weird going on my side there. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Anyways, we got some exciting news out of UKGE.
Newly received the information, especially about recent or important events.
And I want to start with, at least for this podcast, I think probably the most exciting thing that came out of UK Games Expo. It wasn't a surprise. We knew this was happening. We commented as such last episode. But Dropsquad Commander, they're still saying it wrong, also known as StrikeTeam Commander, I will acknowledge the fact that they are accidentally using the wrong name, was actually featured.
Yeah, right.
UK Games Expo.
Right now, I have the video from On Tabletop playing Bruce.
Really good video.
Yeah, showing off the minis and like the actual raw size of that. Was that the Grizzly? That is
Grizzly, yeah. The Grizzly is just phenomenal.
Phenomenal! It's freaking huge. Like that is massive.
I think one is being lost on some people. They have said this out loud, but the Grizzly that you see in the video and the what's the PHR suit that's on display there, Stocks?
What's that?
The big one. The big walker. Which walker is it?
The War Strider, or not the Hades.
It's the Hades. Okay. Because what I don't think a lot of people realise is they are literally just 3-ups of the original sculpts.
Oh, you're talking about the two-legged one. Sorry, the Apollo or the Zeus, whichever one they
Okay.
are. Yeah.
So, and I don't think people have kind of... I mean, it was said, it's been said out loud on the original tease, but I don't think people have quite cottoned on to the fact that that's literally what you're looking at, and that's the difference in the scale.
I can talk really. What would have been really nice? I know it's TT Combat, it's their company, it's their stuff, but I would have loved to have seen to scale of other known miniatures.
I suspect that we will see more as things continue to develop. It's another. They actually did reveal during the video that it's about 2 to 3 months out before they hit Kickstarter.
Yeah,
Jason. Not this Jason. They also have a Jason. Good name, by the way, Jason.
It is great. It's a great name.
Is it though?
It is. It's a pretty good name. We get our own golden fleece upon birth.
Yeah.
And a hockey mask, but mine got stolen.
So the one thing I'm going to say, because I'm actually watching this video, while we're talking, is that display they had for it with that hotel with like the smoke coming out of it. Like, my God, like
I want it, Louis. I want the building. I mean, not a diorama of that level. Obviously, is something you can't sell at a customer level. But I want a raw version of that customers can convert for the game, if that's the way that you want it to be played.
No, I want that one. I want him to send it to me.
So much sense. I mean, I would love to have that. I would love to have that as a centerpiece on an Entropy City table, because it would just work so well.
Oh, so actually, I'm gonna jump in here again real quick. They just did a close up of the Drop Squad miniatures with the new plastic sprues, which kind of gives you an idea of the scale. So we're looking at, and for those who actually have the minis that have already been released,
exclusives.
Yeah, these are bigger than a Space Marine on average.
They're saying about 32 mil.
Yeah, these look
32 mil in scale.
Yeah. So
and I love the look of they have some good sculpts too. I mean that Brave Warsuit for the Shaltari, it looks amazing.
That was revealed 2 days ago. I don't think that's in this.
It was part of the diorama,
no,
actually.
Is
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could just see it on the left side of the video right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did say, depending on the Kickstarter, these may be in resin, but if the Kickstarter does very, very well, they're going to be able to do it in plastic. So if you're looking forward to if you're looking to kickstart it, hopefully it does well like it did for Drop Fleet, and we'll see some plastic models instead of resin, which either way will be good. I'm just looking forward to seeing these on the table. Getting a Skull Squad.
I would really love to see this in plastics, because there's nothing wrong with resin, but when you get a plastic sprue to put together, I think that's so much better.
Yeah,
plastic's superior. Like, it's just a superior product. The problem from a company point of view is setting up the plastic itself.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So
exactly. They also mentioned in the on tabletop video is right now the rules are set for around 4-man squads, but a lot of the customers that were there talking said no, we want 10 to 15 squads per game.
I want to discuss that actually. I want to discuss that. I really like the fact that after the feedback they've gone back and said, you know what, if that's what people want, that's what we should do. In the video, he kind of hints at the fact that you will probably end up getting 2 versions of the game, which I'm guessing would be like a simplified version of the game and then a more advanced with more miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I actually really love the idea of the smaller game, because everybody does 10 to 15 man squad games, and if they're doing a smaller squad, like the idea of the game was always supposed to be that it's a squad, which is 4 or 5, maybe 6 people. And if they were to do it and concentrate on that, if the rules are right, they could have always expanded it later with expansions.
Yeah.
Also, it's something that makes the game look different than every other sci-fi.
I think what they need to focus on is, like we discussed, back in the Huddle Z days, Drop Fleet is in orbit, right? You're fighting over, 3 sectors that have, the city. Drop Zone is one of those sectors, right? And what do you do in Drop Zone? You go into the building to get the objective. That's what Drop Zone needs to focus on. They need to focus on that squad level. So 2 to 3 squads, 4 at the most, couple transports maybe, and Zone Mortalis type gameplay. I think that's where they need to focus on for the initial, as far as the whole Drop universe goes. Now, because if you just scale it up, you're just making Drop Zone bigger and more expensive.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, each of the factions, each of their player or their infantry bases come with 3 to 5 miniatures per base.
Exactly.
And each squad has about 2 to 3 bases. And so that's where you're kind of getting that 3 to kind of 15 range in terms of miniatures. And so if you were to do a full squad in terms of bases that you would get in a infantry unit from Drop Zone, you're going to be looking at 3 to 15 miniatures.
Which
roughly.
Is where it should be, yeah.
Exactly.
I just hope that... I have no problem with the game being expanded because that's the feedback they got. You want to sell a game, so you take feedback. But I hope that the core idea doesn't get lost in trying to please everybody. Because ultimately, game design... You need to have a vision for a game, and sometimes there's things that's more important for the game than the feedback that you get. It's a hard balance. Something I probably wouldn't have understood 2 years ago. But sometimes there's, I'm not working on this game, so I don't have any horses in the race. I mean, we have contributed ideas over the years.
Like the name?
That they didn't use.
So I know one.
We have an interview with one of their old employees, Lewis Clark, who at one point was one of the lead game designers there, and he talked about a lot of the things that he wanted to see in a game, most of which is featured in what we've seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those ideas came from the interview from him. Some of those ideas came from the interview from us. From our community. This is something that we, by mentioning and poking the bear, have kind of contributed towards, which is kind of fun to see.
Yeah. I know you're looking forward to the Razor Worm, Bruce. For
PHR, I want the Razor Worm. I want so many Razor Worms.
For PHR, I would love to see Medusa, who's the girl that's flying around on the little nanomachines.
Oh, that will be the most epic model. As far as Shaltori goes, the one I would love to see is a Ronin warsuit, but that's getting onto the realm of way too big.
I don't know, because you look in the back and you got the small little prowlers, the small little spider. They actually have it in scale for this.
I have one over there.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then they also have the eviscerators, which were a little bit larger than. They're about the same size as a razor worm, but I could maybe see a Ronin being the largest in terms of infantry that we might see.
Yeah,
it's going to be a little bit big, but you're going to have 1 or 2 of those, and that's probably going to be your entire army if they do have those in the game.
Because my guess is that's going to be it's still going to be bigger than the Redemptor Dreadnoughts from 40K, and probably pretty close to the Imperial Knights.
Yeah, because according to the rules, if I remember correctly, those can still go into buildings in the game of Drop Zone, and so.
Yeah, but like I said, just to echo myself again, I would rather see this focus more on Zone Mortalis in the building, because if you're doing it as a large mass scale tabletop game, you've just made Drop Zone bigger, and I don't want that.
I could see this being played on a 2x2, 3x3, and that's your table size, because you're going to be playing in rooms and various levels of the building.
Yeah.
Given that the verticality of the game is the hardest bit to write, which is we acknowledged that when we first suggested it. That's probably the hardest thing to write in a game, because there's been a lot of companies that's tried and failed to do that in the past. But if you're going to put that much effort into that part of the game, that should be the focus of the game.
Yep.
I can maybe count on less than one hand the name of games that's gotten verticality right. Warcry being among them. But Warcry is not the same, not even the same vein. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a skirmish game, but that's where the similarities end.
So
I've always loved the idea of it being inside the building and going up and down the building to find the objectives that you're supposed to be looking for in Drop Zone, because that makes sense.
Yep.
Lewis, in that interview I referenced earlier, was like, well, we may not want to just be inside these buildings, because then it makes the game too samey, and we may want to explore that. And I see where he was coming from.
yeah,
But at the same time, like, if you're going to have to put that much effort into a game mechanics to make the verticality work, then you want to get as much out of that as you can.
oh, absolutely, yeah. So, yeah, like I'm not saying like 6 stories, maybe like 3, 2x3 floors.
Yeah, 2 or 3 is probably enough. If you're going, fans will always go larger than you write into the game, because that's just what we do.
Yeah.
But I think, like, if you've got 1 or 2 buildings going 2 or 3 levels up and down, that's already a huge gaming space.
Oh yeah.
But because most tabletop games are
4x6.
3 and 6 or 4.
Yeah.
Like, it's anywhere between like 3 to 3, 4 to 4, 6 by 4. But there's no levels in that. Like, maybe you can stand on top of buildings depending on what the game is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more playing space added to a game when you're starting to add multiple levels inside buildings. Like, you're doubling, tripling your gaming space at that point. So there's only so much you can do on the table.
Yeah, and you still got to have it so that the game doesn't take 4 or 5 hours to play, because you're searching across 3 different buildings with 3 different floors.
Yeah. Given how little they have revealed about the game at this point, which, to be fair, is a tiny amount, I love how much excitement there is lying around this. Like, and not just within the... I mean, obviously the drop community is excited. Like, that goes without saying. But that on-tabletop video has tons of views. The comments on the website were everywhere. Ben, by the way, if you stumble across this, really good interview. I mean, I don't know how much you were speaking to Jason before the interview started. Really good interview.
Yeah.
You can kind of tell that Ben does this sort of stuff all the time on the website. He knew what questions to ask. And...
Yeah, I think the community, not just like you said, the drop community, but I think just the gaming community in general is excited just because it's something new and different from the big ones. Your Warhammer. That's what everyone has, and to have something that's in this same kind of vein of future sci-fi that's going to be different from 40K is super appealing. I mean, it's
one of the things I like about the idea of a smaller squad size is that, generally speaking, nobody else is really doing that.
Yeah.
And you can still turn out a game that's an hour, 2 hours with a smaller model count.
I was going to say, the company probably closest to doing something like this already is Corvus Belli with Infinity. And it's still a very two-dimensional game because, you're just on a city block. You're not in the actual building itself. So, anyways.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Also,
there's another game that was shown at UK Games Expo that was just announced as well.
Oh, you wouldn't have any interest in talking about that stuff.
Oh, just a little.
So yeah, I've got that video playing, so if you want to go and start talking about their socks.
So yeah, War Cradle Studios, which is owned by Wayland Games, Ben also interviewed them at UKGE, and they had the demo for Armour Clash. It was on a 3x3 field with about 2 large tanks, vehicles, some infantry, some marine armor tanks, and stuff like that for the Empire and the Crown, and boy, am I excited for this one. They said that there's going to be the standard 2-player starter set because they got feedback from the community saying, like me, for example, I play Imperium and Sultanate. If you were to get this in a 2-player starter set, I'm going to be waiting for forever because my factions aren't coming out yet. Right now, they said Empire, Crown are going to be coming out later when this is released, and then Union is going to come out later this year, and then the rest of the factions coming out the rest of the year. So I will be picking up the rules, and I will use Drop Zone Commander type units as my proxies to start practicing the game. But in terms of playing until my factions come out, I'm going to have to set out and wait. So each faction will have their own little starter kit, which will give you a good amount of models to play on, because this game is going to be played on a 6x4 board, which is a massive board for this scale, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. But I'm looking forward to seeing the various different types of units too, various infantry and tanks and aircraft in the future.
Yeah, I just skipped through a bunch of the video because they were just showing off the mobile storefront.
Various displays. Yeah,
so now we're
10
actually
minutes into the...
Yeah, so now we're actually at the Armour Clash part of the video. So a couple weeks ago when we talked about this, there was that large tank that got spoiled that I said was very
Mortal
Engine-esque, yeah. So, and the scale of that, like, that's a general size vehicle, which you just kind of saw it there on the corner of the video there for those watching. So this is like, it's just on a slightly larger scale, it would seem, to like the Drop universe, since, we're just talking about that. It seems like it's just slightly bigger than that, but about the same.
So the infantry is 10 mil scale.
Okay.
So it's the same scale as Drop Zone.
Okay,
But I would point to the fact that large vehicle is probably going to be like the size of a Hades PHR Scorpion Walker, in a sense. I would say contribute maybe that type of a scale, or one of the light behemoths that we have for Drop Zone. I would say those large vehicles are something that similar size. I haven't seen the models myself, but that's just my guess, without having to. But knowing that the infantry are 10 mil.
Like you said, it's a 3x3 board, so for those watching, you can see how big that board is, and that'll give you an idea like how big those minis actually are. And like I said, that general one, it's not a mini, so to speak. It's a hefty chunk.
Yeah.
You could kill somebody by hitting them over the head.
I don't know about killing them, but you could definitely cause some damage for sure. The detail, just as they're panning over this, also looks great. And to the opposite of what TT Combat did with the huge elaborate display for Drop Squad, I love how this display board is super simple, where it's like you got a couple buildings, one mountain, a little bit of trees, just so you can focus on the models more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it means that you're focusing on the models more. And realistically, it's the way that most people are going to play the game too.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we've both commented on how we would really love that building to play in, nobody's going to have a building that looks like that for Drop Squad. Everybody will have a table that looks like this for Armour Clash.
Yeah.
Because it's the way that you play. I really like what they've shown off here. I mean, this is obviously in a much closer to finished state, and we knew that before they showed it off.
Yeah.
And we also knew that about Drop Squad before they showed it off as well, because they hadn't been working on this time last year. This time last year, they'd only just announced that they were going to start working on it. There's 12, maybe 18 months of work that's gone into Drop Squad at this point, and this has been worked on for a good number of years.
Yeah, I've been part of the playtest. Yeah, I've been part of the playtesting for the last 6 months or so, 4-6 months, for the final stages. So,
to be fair though, we know a lot more about Drop Squad right now than we do about Armour Clash, because TT Combat made the.
We do. Stocks knows more than we do, but he can't talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking general public, but
general public knowledge.
Yeah, Drop Squad has been a little more hyped in our circle because they decided to release one of each of the factions in the scale, and then everyone took our name and ran with it of it's Drop Squad Commander, and they decided that nope, we need to get out in front of this and confirm, but confirm what it actually is, not let this rumor run rampant and out of control like it was starting to. So
Just because they've accidentally been typing it wrong for this long doesn't mean that it's. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
is it still adding 6 months on every time we say Drop Squad when we're talking about
It
Drop
might be.
Squad?
No, it's a month. It's 1 month every time we say Drop Squad. But there's at least 15 references that they haven't counted.
Yeah.
Because there's one point when Michelle first mentioned this, where I did a whole rant on where I said Drop Squad like 7 or 8 times in one sentence.
I know. I just love the fact that we can keep poking the bear about that. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but they did. I have heard references in the Facebook group that's out there about how some of the generals are going to be kind of tailored towards some of the faction-specific type generals and leaders that you would see back at the time, or even some of the units themselves. So with Empire, we might see some guys that are wielding swords. I mean, they have some little dragons there on the far left on as you're panning around the Empire side that are fire-breathing dragon robots of some sort, mechanics of some sort. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one finally coming out later this year for those 3 factions, and then next year for the rest of the factions. So and don't worry, they are still having plans for release on Dystopian Wars. Probably not going to be as many because as they try and focus on Armour Clash releases.
It's going to be the same criticism that I had previously. It's going to happen again, but this time.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's just a different way of doing business. The criticism just because I'm saying things and I should give context, was that I would like to see releases happening for all of their games, not just everything being ignored while one thing gets its releases out. I completely understand why it's happening, and to some extent it has to happen that way, but I'd like to, at very minimum, have some things being drizzled in amongst the rest of the releases.
Yeah.
Because it kind of like Wild West Exodus hasn't had a single release in, I want to say, 2 years. It may not be that long. It might be longer. I'm not actually 100% sure how long it's been. It's been quite some time. The miniatures that are out for Wild West Exodus are phenomenal, but also at the same time, like, you kind of need releases for a game to be alive, right? Like,
Yep, I feel the same way.
The game is still as as active as it is.
Same goes with Star Wars Armada.
Crossed. Yeah. Like, fingers crossed. But I can't make a comment like that without giving context. That's not great.
Yeah.
So, next thing we're going to talk about, we're going to flash up a timestamp here on the screen to skip forward because this is a very interesting part of I guess the gaming industry that we have seen from Cmon on their most recent crowdfunding that just ended the other day. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this up on the screen now. Like I said, if you want to skip this part, skip to the timestamp on the screen. I'm following the sheet, Bruce.
No, you're not.
Oh, did you just move it? Okay, are we...
No, it's supposed to be Steamforged next.
I just looked at the sheet and it's been changed.
That's where it always was.
Oh, was it? Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about Cmon for the moment. We'll come back to Steamforged in a second. Like, Steamforged is a big topic, so look, we can talk about Cmon first.
Okay. So, anyways, follow the timestamp if you want to skip this part. The Carnivore pack for was it D-Genesis? So this campaign just ended. The Carnivore pack, as you can see here on the screen, it does say 18+. You can see some of the box art poking up. So we're going to scroll down here. And the pack is 18 only. Or 18+, sorry. So...
and for good reason.
Yeah. The sculpts are... Well, they're naked. I was a little shocked when I saw this. Like... And it's more than just that. We get down to one of the larger, I guess, the boss character, and he is on full display. Lack of better words.
Full frontal nudity.
And these
are going to be about
54 millimeters tall is what the closed version was labeled as on the crowdfunding. So, I saw that, it's just like I had the all-in selected, and then this popped up. I'm like, oh, why isn't this part of that? And I clicked on the link, and I saw this, and I was just like, oh, this is why this is not just part of the main thing. because I'm sure some stores probably don't want to carry this.
No, and this is not something that's unusual for the industry. So it's like it used to be much more prevalent previously than it is now. It's part of the reason that it kind of cooled down on the adult side of things, because for a long time, a lot of it was in really bad taste as well. It tends to be a more artistic thing now, and I'm not just saying that because it's art. Like that tends to be done more tastefully and only when there's a reason for it now. This is very sword and sorcery. This box.
Yeah.
Sword and sorcery slash.
Well, the other thing too is what caught my attention with is like some of these games where it's like you put the stuff together or it's a more like obscure-ish type game where it's like a percent of the market. This is a rather large board gaming company, and this is an add-on for a board game that I'm guessing they're gonna push and have on virtually any shelf that sells specialty board games. And to have an expansion pack like this, it's out of the norm in my opinion. So,
very much out of the norm. Also, I'm going to make one snide remark. We're talking about that one character, right? Look at the weapon on the girl next to him.
Let me scroll back down to it.
There's no way that's accidental.
The one in her right hand?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
To some extent, I mean, it's nice to see that this sort of stuff is still happening from a mainstream company. Like, this feels very non-Cmon to me.
I'm trying to find the actual regular miniature. Go ahead, Bruce. Sorry.
Cmon sculpting has always been good. It's one of the reasons why they sell so well. And this goes right along with it. Like, these sculpts are phenomenal. But is also something that if you don't own this, it's not going to affect the game.
No.
At all. But it's nice that this is there's not really any weak points in the sculpts here. But when it comes to news, this is big. Yes, we talked about it last episode, even though but you don't see this very often.
No. Well, and that's why I brought it to your attention, Bruce, which, our little interaction on that I thought was funny because you're like, yeah, and an expansion. Ooh, it's what Cmon does, And
my first reaction was, oh, yep, okay. And then I clicked on the link, I think maybe an hour later, where I was like, oh.
Well, and I believe I said, to quote, tell me you didn't look without telling me you didn't look.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first reaction was, oh, it's another Cmon game. It's a day ending in Y.
Right. So, yeah. So, I have up on the screen right now the normal miniature with the scale of how big he's going to be, but, clothed. So, just to give you an idea. These minis that are in this box will exist in the game. This is for, if you want to be more accurate to, or whatever.
more artistic?
Yeah, if you want to be more artistic.
Yeah, look, we are not these people that's like, oh, the gaming was ruined now because they're not doing this anymore. That's not the sort of people we are. None of us. But we're still talking positively about this. Again, certainly don't need this. If this isn't to your taste, don't buy it. Nobody should ever be playing with something that makes them feel uncomfortable, regardless of why it makes them feel uncomfortable. I like the fact that somebody's doing this and that options for a game are good.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that it's being done, but it feels tasteful.
Look at the Conan movies, right? There are some
that's
parts.
Exactly what they're leaning on.
Some parts of those movies got pretty close, not there. And with this, they've just decided to go there completely. Of what the actual visualization would be. So
Also, I love the spider looking thing.
that is disgusting looking. It's
I love that so much.
yeah. So next on the docket, as I mark this
Next on the
down,
docket is the previous story.
yes. So
So this is arguably the story of the episode.
I would say this is probably some of the biggest news of the year. I don't know of
Yeah.
many stories that will top this. Steamforged Games has acquired Iron Kingdom's War Machine, Formula 3 paint, and more from Privateer Press.
There's only one title from Privateer Press that they haven't bought. George should know what it is, but I might come back to him and see if he.
Oh, I know exactly what it is.
The official word from Privateer Press is that there is news coming. I think we know where that's going, and it's not going in a positive way. So yeah, Steamforged Games have bought pretty much everything. Like there is a lot of stuff in there that at one point was worth a lot of money. Like people forget this. There was a time when War Machine and Hordes was looking to topple Games Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is something that actually is something that was happening. Games Workshop at one point were in trouble.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
But we're not in that world anymore, and that changed for like they pretty much stopped doing a lot of the stuff that was causing that.
yeah,
or at least stopped doing it as regularly as they were.
yeah. So two things to take away from this. One, Steamforged Games, they do a really good job with these season-based games, you know, where it moves from one season to the other, and these smaller faction unit type games like Guild Ball, God Tear, things like that. So for them to get Warma Hordes, I think is absolutely brilliant. I if anything, they can only improve on this game from what it is.
Yeah.
A
lot of the reactions from the community at this stage have kind of been in one of two directions. There's been a lot of talk at this point about how this is clearly evidence of the fact that War Machine wasn't doing as well as Privateer Press wanted to say it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sold on that world, because if that was the case, Steamforged probably wouldn't have bought it, although it may affect the price as well, so maybe they would have.
Yeah.
But for a company that doesn't deal in games of this size, if there wasn't something there to buy, or a community there to use, and I don't mean that in a negative way,
Well, so
they wouldn't take the risk on it.
so
If this was a game that was dead, they wouldn't buy it.
I'm going to pull you away from the game side of this whole thing. You know, because Steamforged Games, they already have a lot of games, right? I mean, it's in their business name, you know, first and foremost. What's the one thing they didn't have in their lineup that they now have in their lineup? A paint line.
True, that is definitely.
And it's not just a run-of-the-mill paint line.
One of the most popular.
It is a good paint line. Like
It's a very popular paint line.
Yeah, I mean, what's better than, you know, building one up from scratch and like crowdfunding it like TT Combat has just recently done? What's better than that? Just buying an existing one that's, you know, well known. If they don't change anything about it, that's probably worth the entire purchase right there. Because now, they have their own paint line where they can sell pre-box paint kits for Mennoth or, you know, what other factions. I only know Mennoth off the top of my head because that's what I've got. You know, Keldor, that's another one. But to, like, here's a paint set for this faction. Go for it. Here's this paint set for this and God Tear or Guild Ball or whatever else they're doing. Like, it's opened up. You know, it goes back to that conversation that we had last week of paint kits. This is a situation of, here's this faction, here's their paint kit. That's the smartest sell right there.
There's a lot of questions hanging over Privateer Press now at this point, because obviously the next question is, well, what's going to happen with Privateer Press? and we don't really know the answers to that at this stage. I mean, the game that we was hinting at earlier, completely blanked on it. It's
Monster Apocalypse.
city destroying one. Monster Apocalypse. Thank you.
Yes.
And that was done with Mythic Games as a joint contributing Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm. 1.3 million, by the way, on the crowdfunding for that. So I guarantee you that's why Steamforge, that wasn't part of it, because Steamforge Gage was just like, no, we're not going to touch that. That can...
Oh, and they'd be stupid to.
Yeah, so...
I mean, that IP, as far as I understand, still belongs to Privateer Press. That was a joint... that was a license thing where they purchased the license to make it into a board game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously, they mythic with it. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. I kind of get the impression that this is about Privateer Press trying to scale down their business, as opposed to we are struggling and we need to sell. It kind of feels like they're trying to restructure.
I think it's a little bit of
column.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Just because...
From what I've heard, War Machine was still selling rather well. I've heard mixed opinions on that, but
yeah,
from the connections that we have, I've always heard that it was selling well.
Yeah. So my takeaway from the sale of that is, let me scroll back up to the image of all the intellectual properties, right? So the three things that, are the big sellers are War Machine, the P3 paints, and the Iron Kingdoms, right? That's the big things that Steamforge bought. And if it's a restructure...
Iron Caster you could make arguments about, but
yeah,
I haven't really heard much spoken about that since the Kickstarter delivered.
But if they're scaling down and restructuring, you don't sell your biggest money makers or your best selling stuff if you're trying to scale down, restructure, and stay in business. So I think it's a little bit of, they may close their doors if what they still have can't do anything. But selling the big stuff now,
it does tend to suggest.
Yeah.
It does tend to suggest that War Machine was struggling more than they wanted to say it was.
But selling it now before they're at their point they're able to get more capital out of it. Well,
potentially,
selling it now versus we're shutting our doors. We're going to sell this now. So it gives them a better chance of surviving. Don't want to say this. It's exactly what Mythic has done.
True. I think the next 12 months is going to be the revealer on that.
Mm-hmm.
If we see that they go in a new direction, they start releasing stuff within the next 12 months, then clearly it's a restructuring thing, or they have managed to survive through selling this.
Yep.
If we've still got the 12 months and we haven't really seen much, then that probably means that they're done.
Yeah.
I would not count out Privateer Press yet.
I just pulled up the article on Privateer Press's website, and it says, going forward, Privateer Press will continue to partner with Steamforge Games to develop War Machine, Iron Kingdoms, RPG, the future products based on a vast intellectual property. Privateer will continue manufacturing War Machine models while working with Steamforge Games to expand the materials and the products. So they'll still be working together.
That answers a question from the community then, which was that how are the miniatures going to be produced? So they're still going to be 3D printed then.
Yeah.
Which is probably the thing that had disappointed me the most.
Yeah.
Not everybody was a fan of that. I still think it's probably the future of the
I still think it's better than what it used to be with a hodgepodge of resin, plastic, and pewter. So
I will agree with you on that. It's going to be interesting to see. Like George said, I don't think there's going to be another story that topped this for a while.
No.
This came out of nowhere.
Yeah, quite literally. I think the only thing that tops it is, Mythic announcing they're shutting down, Privateer Press announcing they're shutting... it's going to be the shutdown of something. I don't think there's anything else out there in a state where another company is going to be looking at acquiring it. I think this is... I don't see anything being bigger than this unless Games Workshop announces, a fourth product line.
they would be above that already.
So, should we talk about Elon Musk from the Blue Man Group?
Oh, it actually does look like him too.
Have you watched the Ahsoka there, Bruce?
No, I haven't. I know who Grand Admiral Thrawn is, but I have not seen Ahsoka.
In Ahsoka, he looks like Elon Musk with blue skin.
Yeah,
Google it.
it's a close resemblance.
Google it, and you will be gobsmacked. But anyways, we're talking about Star Wars Shatterpoint not accepting surrender squad pack, which has Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I just want to start by saying, not accepting surrender is a perfect name for this box, with the way that Thrawn always is.
Yep.
It just makes so much sense. Grand Admiral Thrawn is like one of those Star Wars characters that has, up until recently, never really been anything outside of the books and the comics.
So my personal take,
been a fan favorite.
My personal take on Grand Admiral Thrawn was, he is something, and he is something special and badass. For him to be who he is in the position he is, when the Empire is very, very portrayed as being xenophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for, this would be the equivalent of, I don't know, like, someone from Ukraine leading a Russian unit right now. Like, that's how awesome they'd have to be for something like that. Or someone from Russia leading a unit in Ukraine or vice versa, just because of, those are the two butting heads. The Empire's trying to put a foothold on everyone, and the only people in charge are the humans. For someone that's not a human to be in charge. But it's a classic Grand Admiral Thrawn pose. I have the image blown up, and it's the Grand Admiral Thrawn and his associate there that does have an alternate head sculpt. And it's a classic Admiral Thrawn pose.
All of them do.
Yeah, he's just standing there.
The only one that doesn't have an alternate... The only one that doesn't just...
Yeah. But he's just standing there, hands behind his back, like he would be. I mean, it's hard to pose him any other way because that's what he does. So,
yeah,
this might be the best looking box I've seen from Shatterpoint since the game was out. I mean, they're just people standing there with guns in their hands and weapons, right? But I think part of it is because of who is in it.
I don't know.
The models themselves are also just really gorgeous.
The Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie one, I think, is probably the best box still, just because it is what started the franchise.
True. That is true. Maybe I misspoke.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with what you said. I'm just saying I think that's still the better box, just because of the characters that are in it and what those. And what those characters did for the intellectual property. So, it's a $50 box, which, that's on par for what these run. It is available for pre-order, so not quite available yet. But, yeah, I do...
Shatterpoint's pricing leaves a lot to be desired sometimes, I think. Because pretty much every box is almost the same price, regardless of what's inside them. And the contents vary quite heavily at times. I've defended their pricing for a long time, but I'm starting to see a lot of things that make me uncomfortable with this game.
Well,
Asmodee will Asmodee, but when you're buying a $50 box set for the same price that you're paying for 6 models of the same size, there's problems there.
My only defense is this makes it easier for, a game store to put it on the shelf, price it, and move it.
Oh, yeah.
When everything's the same price. There's no, well, this one's got 4, this one's got 6. I'm going to get this one. It's going to make the 6 one, as approachable as the 4 one. Like, there's no difference. If you want to do this, it's the same price. So,
the boxes are all...
Yeah. Next up, we have a Kickstarter from Firelock Games. I feel like...
So we actually spoke about this recently, but the campaign is actually live now, and that's pretty much the only thing we're talking about here. Last episode we had like a teaser of like some of the stuff that was going to be in the campaign. We now have pricing. We now have the entire page launched. I think the first and the most obvious thing with Port Royal is that if you own Blood and Plunder, you'd be silly not to at least want the rulebook for this game.
Absolutely.
Because it's another way to play with stuff that you already own.
Yeah.
And to be fair, it's a lot easier to get people to play a skirmish-sized game than it is to play a full-size board game. I still haven't played Blood and Plunder. I've owned it for, a year and a half, 2 years at this point. I still haven't played it, which is a me problem. Not an unusual problem for me. But, I mean, what's in the basic box? You're getting the rulebook, you're getting some dice, you're getting 15 character models, you get some additional accessories, some cards, so on and so forth. We'd seen this before, but further down the page we get a price. So there's actually a digital version for $39. The physical version is $64. That's a bargain. Sorry, that was the basic, sorry. $79 for the full core one.
So I'm going to scroll back up a little bit, and I'm a little salty about the way that they've done this, right? So $39 for the digital, $64 for the physical. You don't get the digital on that. I'm sorry, if you're buying the physical, you should get the digital as well. When you get the full on, the $79, where you get the rule book and all stuff, you do get physical and digital both. So
yeah. The core box at $79 kind of makes the basic box completely pointless. I mean, that's clearly a pledge that's been created for people that already own the original game.
Yeah.
Because at that point, they probably don't want to buy more miniatures. But the value in that box, in the basic box, is not very... Compared to everything else, the value is not...
So the one that really catches my eye, just because of what you get in it, the legendary one for $250, you get pretty much everything. You get the 2x2 neoprene mat, all the player aids, the miniatures, all that stuff. But you get one of each unit box with that too.
Yeah.
Which
2 foot by 2 foot mat, by the way.
Yep. So
coffee table game.
Which, and I mentioned this during my Primal the Awakening unboxing, was, coffee table games are so uncommon.
Considering how convenient they are, like Bushido is a perfect example of this as well. It's very well written, a lot of fun to play. It's on a 2x2 table.
Yeah.
There's very few of them out there. From a war game perspective, anyway. I mean, small board games is usual, but...
Well, I mean,
just good to see more of them.
Staying out of the board game aisle of Walmart, Target, whatever, even like a coffee table board game is hard to find. Like Ticket to Ride, that doesn't fit on a coffee table.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Cthulhu, none of the Cmon stuff I've got except for 2 games, none of those fit. I've only got... Look at my shelf here. One... Well, that's not even a board game. I've got maybe 3 games that'll fit on a coffee table.
I would have to go through my collection. I definitely have some, but probably more in the card game side.
Yeah, well, I mean...
Sentinels I could play.
Yeah, like, that sort of thing. Like, I've got Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Duel at Mount Skullfire, right? That fits on a coffee table because it's just a deck game. But I'm talking like a full-on board game. Like, I've got a Scooby-Doo game, a Looney Tunes, and I think I've got something else that might fit.
What about you, Socks? Do you have much that would be coffee table sized? I'm probably thinking not in your case.
No, I don't.
To be fair, though, he has to have a game that 12 people can play, so...
And that's just for the family, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They do kind of touch on, and I'm only going to talk about this briefly, they do touch on shipping fees, about how it'll be in the back of kit. But they don't actually give any pricing, which is I don't like that as someone that often pays a lot in postage. Judging on Blood and Plunder, their pricing was very reasonable, so it should be again in theory. It's just generally not something like I personally prefer to at least have an estimate of. Hopefully, it's around this. Is usually what I prefer to see. But,
So here's something worth throwing out there too. Part of this campaign, it's a $50 add-on, but you get a acrylic paint set from Monument Hobbies.
Yeah.
For Blood and Plunder. So, you know, and that goes back to, you know, Steamforged Games buying Privateer Press stuff. You know, like that's exactly what they need to be doing with the P3 line. You know, like, you know, getting these, you know, very specific sets. Because I mean, if you want, like, ooh, here's Blood and Plunder, I'm gonna buy this and play this. Oh, hey, here's a paint set specifically for this. It's the easiest sell there is for this kind of stuff.
It's something that Vallejo and Army Painter have done with other companies quite regularly as well. I mean, obviously, it's something that makes more sense with the line that you own.
Yeah.
In the case of Steamforged, or will own. I like what I'm seeing here, honestly. The pricing is generally pretty good. Like, there is one tier there. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's not as good as the other tiers. I most likely am backing this. I haven't at this stage. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm doing. I don't really need the neoprene mat, so I guess the core box. But I don't really know. I need more.
Yeah,
one of our players does.
I'm unfortunately not going to back this because, well, I'm waiting for another Kickstarter campaign. So,
well, I don't need more games. I'm not playing the games I own as it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
It kind of feels like something I have to have because it goes with stuff I already have. I don't know. We'll see.
Well,
I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah. Next on the list, socks. What do we got here?
Again for socks.
Yeah, so we got some more War Cradle releases for Dystopian Wars coming up later next year. We've got the Aranax Colossus Squadrons for the Enlightened. So 3 sub-looking... What's that?
I like them.
They look pretty nice. They look kind of scary, too, with big, huge drills and the effect. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the rule sets for these yet. We'll probably see them as war hosts here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, they look kind of nasty.
Yeah.
So
I really like what we're seeing with this.
So going back to Armour Clash and that one general having that very Mortal Engines look, have either one of you read or listened to the series Mortal Engines?
No.
So
not the series. I've seen the movie, but not the series.
Oh, the movie's garbage compared to the books. But one of the following books, there's undersea vehicles, and just the description in those books, these really match that quite well as far as how they look. I love the very articulatedness of the body, how it looks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know if they're going to be articulated? Like, can they be straight? Can you have them curved socks? Do you know?
I'm not sure because these are resin. All 3 of these are resin models. And so depending on how you have to build them, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to articulate very much.
Well, since it is resin...
I would be... Yeah,
well, unless you drill and pin.
Well, no, I was going to say, since they're resin, you could just heat them up and bend them.
That's...
You don't want to do that, but...
No.
Look, it depends on how they're sculpted. If they're sculpted so that it's so that the pieces are designed to do this, then yes. I doubt that, honestly. I think these are probably going to be 3 or 4 pieces a piece in the body. That's only going to go together one way. That would be my suspicion.
Yeah.
Largely because the box set would be a lot more expensive if it was articulated.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a 28-pound box for 3 Colossus-sized creatures. And if you look at the pictures, generally the poses stay the same. So I think the body is just designed to look a certain way.
Yeah. It has a very giant squid look too, which I love. So
Yes, not as much as the Empire one does, but yeah, I agree.
It's where my head went when I saw these the first time was Empire. It took me. It wasn't until maybe the second look that I realised that hang on, that's not what these are.
Yeah,
but that's what I thought they were when I first looked at them.
So the little drills that are going back towards the tail are the same type of little drills that you see on the new Cmon submarine that the Enlightened just got released a couple months ago. So they definitely have some characteristics between the two models. So I'm sure all my Enlightened friends down here in the local group will be getting these because
they look really nice.
Yeah.
Next ones I've got pulled up here are the Alliance Levant support squadrons.
Yep. So we just found these in the Velbon box set. So these are just your support squadrons. So if you want to have more of the support cruisers and destroyers and more of the Freelon bomber tokens, you can get it that way instead of having to buy the entire box set. So this is just standard stuff that once a larger set comes out, the next month or so they'll come out with the support box to add on to your squadron type, or battle fleet type. So, but I do like the look of these.
In that way, it just works. It's really custom.
It's like the drop fleet when they had the core boxes, but then you had the cruiser boxes and the frigate boxes.
The frigate box, yep, exactly. And since
but unfortunately, nobody ever bought.
No, I bought the cruiser boxes.
I bought one of each at one point, but generally larger in the community, people would basically suggest to just buy the big one.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, TT Combat very rarely sold them. Just stopped selling them.
Yeah.
They just sat there and nobody ever bought them. And that came from both Louis and Lewis. So, and I don't think it was any different with Hawk. I don't think people bought them. Very rare for people to buy them.
Yeah. But knowing that I'll be getting Alliance in the future, just because I'm looking forward to what the Spanish comes out with, having seen the pictures in the old Orbats before they got removed, I'm liking the look of these. So I'll definitely be buying when I get into the Alliance. I'll be buying some of these. So
they are very, very pretty. Which is why I put them in there. But for those wondering why I didn't have all the War Cradle stuff together, normally I put everything from a certain company together. I kept them different because I felt I kind of wanted to discuss the UK Games Expo by itself before going into everything else. I would have done the same thing with TT Combat, but they don't really have anything new to discuss this fortnight. So.
Moving on, Crooked Dice.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see if it works for you, because Socks tends to have a problem with this website.
It's showing fine for me. I can see the alien android who is obviously not Kang the Conqueror in his android suit.
Krang, not Kang. Kang is
Krang, yeah. And then that's obviously not the Thunder Tank, so.
Yeah, so there's quite a few things here. Like, this is their second wave of their 80s inspired stuff. So yes, we've got the alien android that you've kind of talked about, which is a perfect representation of Krang. The alien invader shuttlecraft is quite nice. At the end of the day, it's just a spaceship. But something in particular, the alien plants are nice. Or even though one of those plants is most definitely an alien egg. I love the fact that it's labelled as alien plants. Like, it's just a really interesting way of hiding what you're doing. Alien sponges, I don't quite get what that is. I think the Beastman battle tank is my favourite here.
I found my favorite.
Because it's perfect. What's your favourite?
The Cool Kids. That's obviously not Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Yeah. When this first got shared amongst the communities, there was a few people that was like, "What is that? I don't know what this is." Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, what? people that have clearly never seen the movie, which I
People
found
that are a
amusing.
whole lot younger than us, apparently.
To be fair, I only saw that movie for the first time like 5 or 6 years ago because I missed it during the 80s. I don't know how. It just never... I'd never heard of it until I was an adult, somehow.
I saw it like a dozen times in the 90s.
It was huge. For some reason, it just didn't cross my path when I was younger. I don't know why. We have the Bold Planner, which is Die Hard. Chainsaw Maniac is really obvious. Like, they're not hiding that one at all. I'm not 100%... Where does Coach come from?
Is that Weird Science?
Oh, is that what it is?
I think.
Commander Kuro could be pretty much anybody from here.
Looks like M. Bison-ish.
It does, but M. Bison doesn't have guns. Then again, it's their own version of it, right? So.
The cybernetic organism is not Arnold.
No, it's definitely not Arnold. I don't know why you would even suggest that it's Arnold.
And that's obviously not
really good.
The cynical escapologist. The cynical escapologist. No, it's Kurt Russell from.
Yeah, and the character's name is Snake.
Oh really? Oh, okay. Oh, I've never watched them, so I just know it.
Honestly, they're actually worth watching.
Yeah.
Watch them in order. The first one's the better one, but yeah.
Oh my God!
Dead Hunter is there, and of course we have an actual zombie Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I kind of want to get and paint up for Don't Look Back, because
that would be awesome.
I'm gonna click on the Galactic Marines just because I want to see what they're trying to be,
Yep.
And that doesn't get very large. That looks like
Starship Troopers.
I was gonna say Starship Troopers or Marines from Aliens, or
I kind of get the impression that it's kind of trying to be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because they're just like generic. To be fair, like the generic Marines in both of them are just supposed to be generic Marines, right? They're not supposed to be the interesting part of the movie.
Ooh, there's an immortal swordsman who is obviously not a Highlander.
No. Why would you even suggest such a thing? I love the Killer Doll too.
The Chuggy.
Like,
and then there's
Chucky
Axel
Doll.
Foley. Well, sorry, it's not Axel Foley.
It's a Maverick Cop.
Maverick Cop
It
3.
could be any Maverick Cop.
Because Maverick Cop 1 is not Murtaugh and Riggs, and then Maverick Cops 2 is not John McClane and I can't remember his character's name in that movie, but he was also the same guy that was the cop in Family Matters.
Yeah.
And Ghostbusters. He's in Ghostbusters too. He plays the same role in like 3 different things. I also quite like the Mormites, although I don't like Critters. I don't understand why that film has fans. It just was terrible in my eyes. We have generic commissars. We have Lost Boy, which is obviously the Lost Boys. This is a really... Oh, and we've completely gone past the Thing. Like, there's multiple The Thing sculpts.
And Chucky as the Killer Doll.
Yeah.
No, I mentioned Chucky.
He did.
Oh, did you? Sorry.
Yeah, you just weren't listening to him, Socks. How does it make you feel, Bruce, knowing that he doesn't listen to anything you say?
People never listen to me. It's fine. On page number 2, we have some stuff that we haven't discussed, but it's actually been teased a little while ago. We have Bebop and Rocksteady and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And the kids from Stranger Things.
We also have Stranger Things. Yep. There's also a Nam Vet. Neutron Nelson.
That's Prince.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
More Stranger Things with Psychic Rivals.
Red Baron we did discuss previously. But he is just like generic 60s villain, pretty much. Crooked Dice just have a really good way of doing things. Like, there is a generic version of pretty much everything you could ever want. And just when you think that they have everything, they have a complete new wave of stuff that you didn't realize they had already.
Like the claw with a K that's not the shredder.
Yes.
Oh,
it's just a glorious company.
Like,
they're doing the Doctor again.
The temporal travelers, yeah.
They used to have an entire line of Doctors that they had to remove from their website because somebody else picked up the license, and we're kind of like, we know what that is. You're going to take that down. They're resculpting them, which is nice.
Yeah. I'd say probably so from the standpoint of like some role playing games, like, you know, the Shredder, the Xenos, stuff like that. Like, those are perfect for it. The Xenos Fighter is just fantastic.
Yeah. No, they've done really, really well. I'm a big fan of what guys are doing.
The other thing I love about these two is the prices of these. I mean, $7 a mini, like, that is so
and they're all
reasonable.
Traditionally cast, like, it's all metal casting and stuff. So
yeah, it's so amazing. Next on our list is a Kickstarter.
Yep. Word of warning: the Kickstarter we're about to discuss only has 3 days left at the time of filming. So, if you're a fan of John Blanche and you want to get some stuff that John Blanche did in his modern days, then you've only got a short amount of time to do it. So this is, I'm going to say Modern. It could be Mordarin. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation of that. This is a new range of 32mm grimdark feminine models that was designed in modern John Blanche artwork. So this is all stuff that he's done later in life, because obviously we know all of the 40k stuff and it's all still around today. And this is all gorgeous. I love the fact that they're also showing what artwork inspired these things as well, which is really nice. That they've had to add detail to because it's done artistically because it's John Blanche.
Yeah.
But the details that they've added just really make sense with the artwork in question. Like, there's this alien, I want to say Austin Hilt, that's basically just based on a head sculpt. And that's all that it's based on. But it's been done really well. It just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through them in order, and it just, they just look so amazing.
Yeah. John Blanche artwork is always phenomenal. There's a reason he has fan base that he does, and why. I mean, John Blanche, I think it's pretty fair to, like, John Blanche is the reason 40k took off. It's John Blanche that's the reason that it took off.
Mm-hmm.
Other things helped, but I would argue that it's John Blanche's work that made it the dominant force that it is today. And it's nice to see something that's being done that can just be his. I just really, really like this. Like, it's a pretty simple Kickstarter. Like, these are essentially more artistic pieces than anything else.
I mean,
32mm scale.
Yeah,
so you could kind of do whatever you want with them.
It's 30 pounds, so about $40 US dollars. So that's probably close to 50 in Australian.
Somewhere between 50 and 60, depends on the dollar.
So 32 mil, you get 4 for 40 US. That's $10 a mini. Like, that again, that's a, if you look at what you go pay for a hero figure for 40k, you know, $40 now for your general that are, you know, the 28 mil scale, and this is, you know, going to be a bigger scale or close to that same hero scale that, you know, 40k's in. This is a fantastic deal.
Yeah. And you're buying something that's just, this is what Kickstarter is for.
Mm-hmm.
It's a product that has no way of ever being a thing otherwise. There is a stretch goal that I want them to unlock, which is a violent-looking teddy bear. I want that I want that miniature. I don't care about anything else. I just want the violent punk rock teddy bear. Give it to me now.
Well, they need 4,000. Oh, they've got that, Bruce. That's been unlocked.
Yeah, but I want it. Give it to me now.
Oh.
I don't care about anything else. Give me the punk rock teddy bear. Yeah, they've done. They're doing really well. Like I said, this is why Kickstarter, quite literally.
So here's the next part of this, right? So, it's £30 for the base, right? And the stretch goals, you don't get the stretch goals. If it gets unlocked, it's another £8 for the stretch goal. Which again, that's still a reasonable price, for a mini.
The Teddy did say it's free to world backers.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
it's only the Teddy that says that though.
The alternate head for the witch. Too. Yeah, the alternate head for the witch hunter's free as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is really, really good. I saw this and I'm like, oh, I don't care if it's finished.
Ooh, actually, so there's a better bear, Bruce. It's called a voodoo bear.
A voodoo bear?
No, voodoo.
Nice.
Oh, it's voodoo. B.
Interesting. I did miss that one.
Yeah, that
was free to all backers too.
Yeah, it's a free to all backers at £27,000. So that's been unlocked.
That is cool. I like that. Jump on that. Like, it's seriously, 3 days left at time of recording. So
yeah, no kidding.
If you're watching the video edition of this podcast, then it's probably already too late. They might have a late pledge, but at the time of recording, we don't know. I only mention that because it's something that some companies do. This is kind of a smaller thing, though, so there's no real big chance on that. If you're listening to the audio version, George will be updating the website so that all this is on the website.
Yep.
Right, you, George?
Yep. Moving on.
Yes. Joseph A. McCulloch is the man behind Frostgrave and Stargrave and Rangers of the Shadow Deep and other stuff that I can't remember right now. Quite some time ago, we read that he was going to be developing stuff outside of Osprey Games. And we've kind of been waiting to see where that would come. As far as I know, this is the first one since then. I mean, he is still working on the other stuff, but this is his own project that's just his. So Deathship 1, this game is it's based in a spaceship. Doesn't really matter what the spaceship is, but the spaceship has different rooms that are all different, I guess. There's different scenarios that you can play out depending on what you roll up, basically. And the idea is that these aliens have kind of stolen something from every universe and every point in time and are basically forcing them to fight against one another and try to make them survive in the ship. So I could have a thing of samurais that are trying to defend themselves against aliens, or aliens trying to defend themselves against samurai, or depending on what scenario it is that you roll up. It's a really interesting idea. I kind of like I like a game where you can kind of do anything you want with it. It doesn't feel like sometimes when you do this, it just feels like it's generic 101. This does feel like it's got some depth to it. This is something that you can either play solo or cooperatively. So again, it's kind of similar to a lot of the stuff that he's done. Like Frostgrave, you can kind of do the same thing. Stargrave, you can kind of do the same thing. But there feels like there's more that he can do with this, because it's obviously, it's kind of like, do whatever you want, sort of. I really like the look of this. Artwork is really pretty. There's a preview that you can click on if you want to look at it. This is being published through Drive-Thru RPG, which, cost-wise, I actually got a couple of things from these guys recently. What they produce actually comes out really nice. So haven't bought from them before, I could recommend them. Honestly, it's been good. There is a soft cover and a hard cover on this. Obviously, hard covers is always something that every publisher wants at some point, but is not always affordable to the indie guys. It's nice to see that he's got that option, I guess. I don't think there's really much else to say. If you're a fan of Frostgrave and Stargrave and all of the rest of that stuff, then this is kind of an easy sell. Because if you like what Joseph does, more of what Joseph does.
Black Site Studios.
Yep. So there is an expansion coming for Luna, which is there. We discussed this once before. Luna is a game that's based on the moon, and it's what if it went hot? So the Russians and the US are fighting on the moon. It's such a... It was one of those ideas that I think at the time we were like, we don't understand why nobody's done this before. And, yeah, pretty much.
It's because the Decepticons were on the dark side.
So this is an expansion. You're getting 2 NASA astronauts and 2 USSR cosmonauts. It's a new part of the moon. You've got new scenarios, new weapons. It's just adding more to the game. Nice, simple 2-player starter set. Just really, really easy. It's kind of like a smaller version so that you can kind of just get into it nice and easy. Like, there's just 4 miniatures in this one, plus the card punch-out terrain and stuff. It's just another way to get into a game. So, nice and simple. The other thing, and we don't have this on the run sheet, but if you look through the Black Site Studios, they have actually been releasing the Commonwealth for the game as well. So, in theory, you could play as people from Australia or other parts of the Commonwealth. Which we hadn't, I just thought it was worth mentioning that they've also done that recently. This is a pre-order. It's meant to ship in July, so it's actually not that far away. Again, like, seriously, like, it's fighting on the moon. I don't understand why nobody's done this before. It just makes sense.
It is kind of a fun little concept. Speaking of updates on Kickstarters, I got an update on Company Heroes 2nd edition. Production is coming along, and shipping delivery should be happening around August time frame. So once I get all my stuff, I'll definitely be doing some unboxings for that.
Yep. I have some unboxings that need to be happening at some point, but I'm kind of PC-less at the moment, so I literally can't do anything. So, sorry guys.
Yeah, I've still got to get the last the expansion boxes for Primal done, and just got notification that my copy of Metal Gear Solid is getting ready to be put into a box to ship.
Oh,
nice!
I'm a little like, as far as video games went, that was my jam back in the day.
Metal Gear Solid is another one of these games. It's like, I don't quite understand why it didn't happen sooner than it did.
So, yeah, so this one was, I think someone else had already done it. Cmon bought the rights to it. It was republishing it with more stuff. So, obviously...
The original company that did it, kind of, like, they published it and they'd kind of gotten to a point where they couldn't really do it anymore. And so Seymour bought the intellectual property and kind of just republished it to make it easier for people to get access to just the other company to kind of... They hadn't really fallen over. From memory, I don't think they'd fallen over, but they'd kind of let things lapse and were struggling to get another printing run done or something. I don't remember the full story. We did talk about it at the time, but...
So we don't
either that or we talked about it and our community corrected us.
I don't.
That might be one of the ones that we weren't sure on, and somebody. Yeah.
I want to say it was like almost. It's been more than a year since the pre-order for it went live, so I want to say it was February last year.
I remember us talking about it and being kind of not sure about what the story was, and I think it was either JP or Shay. Kind of like, this is the full story, and then we kind of had to fill in more in the following episode or something.
Sure.
I don't know. It's a vague memory, but I remember something about it from that. we should probably discuss some hobby, though.
Yes.
Yep.
Cream, glue, prime, paint.
Sox wants to talk about how little self-control he has and how weak of a person he is, generally.
Yeah, he has the self-control as a 12, not even a 12-year-old, a 6-year-old with his candy on Halloween.
Thereabouts. Yeah, exactly. So 2 weeks ago, I showed you that I got the Artemis set, or maybe it was 4 weeks ago. Been a while. Anyways, yeah. So I got the Space Launch System Lego set for the new Icons line that they have, and I told myself and I told the wife that I would not do anything until we were under contract for the house. Well, as of last Monday, we have sold our house. We're under contract. And so, yes, big, huge stress relief for us as we're getting ready to move. But the box was still sitting there looking at me and toying with me and having nothing else really to do, because she was like, you're not doing any hobby until we're under contract, because I'm not going to have a house full of paint or models or stuff all laying out. And so that's the little Orion capsule on its little display stand. And then as I pan the camera over, there's the whole tower and setup. So it's probably about 2 feet tall in height.
It's quite sizable.
Yeah, it is quite sizable. So I'm looking forward to getting to Alabama and getting my shelves up that you saw on the back. And because that one and the Saturn V will be standing up next to each other side by side on one shelf. So,
George, have we lost George?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I think Sox needs to work on his drawl a little bit if he's moving to Alabama, right?
Yeah,
You need to practice your y'all.
y'all.
Also, since you're going to be in Alabama, see if you can get a hold of a cousin to move in with you.
No, I'm good.
I wasn't going to go that far. That's just a bit mean. It's a really not like. To be fair, like as much as we were picking on you earlier, or George was picking on you when I joined in. You've been in an empty house for over a month.
Over a month. We've got another month to go, roughly. So it's been.
You have to be going stir crazy at this point.
We are going stir crazy. The kids are going a little stir crazy, and knowing that we have a month from today is when we get the rest of our stuff in Alabama. So we still have 4 more weeks of this. But we knew we had to do something like this in order for us to try and sell the house and get it all ready for people walking through it and stuff like that while trying to pack up our stuff and go. So
100%, yeah.
Hopefully now that the stuff is done, I'll pull out some of my Imperium stuff that I still want to finish up, and so I'll have some desk space here that I can pull out some paints and finish up some of my airships and stuff like that for Dystopian Wars. But yeah, we're getting bored. We're ready to move, but we can't yet.
What about you, George? What have you been up to?
I started doing a thing. I about made Bruce crap himself when I was doing this thing, but
Well, Bruce is going to sit here and look vaguely into the camera because he can't see George. We don't know why. It's just an error that's happening on my side.
Switch to my other camera here.
Oh yeah, the Sheltari with all those dots.
Oh, that's right.
That still hasn't been painted.
No, he still hasn't painted it.
I've put some paint on it.
You've put paint on it. You just haven't done the dots. That's not painted, George.
Well, so I just started doing the gold trim here on the weapons and stuff. I decided to go with gold instead of silver, which is more of a traditional weapons color. I decided with this color shift that I've got going here. Let's see if I can get to So
I can see it a little bit. I can see it more blue on the top and a little more purple on the bottom as you were flipping it around.
Yeah, see there it's purple, and if I go like this, you get a little more blue.
I can see it phase.
So
and that gold actually makes it look really, really nice.
Well, it
actually sets up against the purple perfectly.
Yeah. Well, and as rich as that blue is too, it also does. And I haven't hit it with any Agrax yet to make it pop more too. So, it's worth mentioning, and I know I told you this, Socks. This is that speed paint gold from Army Painter that I used on this. So
yeah, that does look nice.
So
I highly recommend this. The speed paint medals are phenomenal. Honestly, they are really good.
So I'll switch that off. So, and I'm still toying with some ideas. So the Sheltari, they have like the little like in the studio paint jobs. It's the dark green for the pods or the command center or whatever. I am thinking about doing. Does that show up? Yeah, that kind of shows up.
It's showing up a little bit.
It's spring green is what it's called. So I'm thinking that spring green will really pop.
Pod area.
Yeah, we'll pop on that, and then it's a fuchsia, and I'm thinking about putting the fuchsia in on somewhere.
Your dots. Do it on your dots.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I was gonna do like a red, orange, yellow, white progression on the dots like I did on my first paint scheme, which I thought that looked good because it was the scaling of color.
Yeah.
Let me move that so that's not covering Bruce's face. But it was the camera menu. When I switched the cameras, I forgot to move, and the thing was still covering your face, Bruce. But using and I'm gonna harp this in until you're used to it, hearing this, Socks, because Bruce could probably stand to hear it too. I put in this the purple and metallic blue in the paint rack, and then I went to the Scale 75 and looked for the triad for the contrasting colors, and this is what it gave me as these two. This will help you so much with what you've got.
Yeah.
If you want to work with what you've got for contrasting and complementary contrasting colors. So I'm gonna try to put some more time in it here. I'm actually taking some time off on starting the 12th through Monday to go to Idaho for a long weekend. So won't be doing.
It's getting out of the unknown state, folks.
Yes, it's funny you mentioned that. Completely unrelated topic. The path we were taking was the Teton Pass to the western part of Wyoming. We can't go that way now because the road has catastrophically failed.
So it's a road in the United States then?
No, it's part of it.
Because it seems like that's happening in your country quite a lot lately.
No, Bruce, the road has disappeared. Like, it has slid down the side of the mountain.
Oh, so it's like the bridge collapsing, but more.
Yeah, because so there was a fault where the road shifted, so it was like this. They went through and fixed it, and after they fixed it, it just completely fell.
So basically, what they did is that they fixed it the cheapest way possible. In other words, they didn't fix it at all. They just said
they fixed it the fastest way possible because it's the summer, it's the tourist season, and that's going next to a national park.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
for those wondering why I'm picking on the United States, like it's fair.
We have the worst infrastructure upkeep right now of any first world country in the world right now,
and it's not even close. Like they are ahead of everybody by several miles. Like there are third world countries with better roads than you guys have. It's quite disgusting in some areas.
It's sad.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is that like fixing roads is not a sexy thing for politics, so they just don't talk about it. And it's been a complaint. Like David Letterman used to complain about the roads in your country on his TV show.
Well,
how long has David Letterman been retired now?
The other thing too, Bruce, is just the size and scale of the U.S.
That is also a problem, yes. But that's also why you have states to fix their own stuff.
Not all the states have all the money to fix it, and so they still rely on federal funding.
That is a point. And like, it's just not a sexy thing to spend money on.
It's that also too, or to campaign on.
Yeah.
But people don't vote for people fixing roads because people don't care about roads. And I mean, nobody cares about the road. It's just a road. Why do I care? Unless you live on the area where the road falls
Right.
slides down a mountain, and then you will. I hope nobody was anybody hurt on
No.
that, or
They didn't even lose any
Goodness.
equipment, so yeah,
that's outstanding.
right.
Yeah.
So, which is funny because where they did the fix is where the road slid off. So yeah, it's fairly amazing. So since we're all talking and chatting, let's well, Bruce, you got any hobby?
Yeah, he's got a lot of hobby. He's torn apart something.
It's in pieces.
Yeah, so George almost got sworn at yesterday.
Would it be the first time?
No.
Okay, so I have been fighting with a computer that's been on the verge for a while. This is not secret to you. My graphics card has been faulty since I brought it. And you've both heard me complain about this at one point or another. I had... my grandmother passed away around Christmas last year, and I got my small part of inheritance through. And so basically what I've been doing is I've been making clever decisions as to what I'm doing with that. So I've upgraded my computer, or I'm upgrading my computer, because I didn't really have the funds for it, and this opened it up. I'm also buying a sit-stand desk, and I'm doing some things to kind of that I couldn't have afforded to do otherwise, because I don't have a lot of. So,
just to interject, a sit-stand desk is a brilliant and amazing thing, Bruce.
Well, there's a reason I asked you your thoughts on it a few months ago. I've been wanting one for a while, and the only reason I hadn't done it is I couldn't really justify spending $1,000 on a desk. I bought a $200, which I don't regret. This desk was a great improvement, but I sit in front of my desk too often, so I'm trying to be better.
To not justify everything. I sit at this desk 9 hours a day, 5 days a week.
Yes.
Bruce. So that I'm in a different situation than you are for your desk.
Yeah. So my initial plan was, well, stuff it rather, because I tossed up whether I was just going to buy the graphics card or whether I buy a whole new system. I don't need a new computer at this stage, but I probably would have time next year, because it's just started to get to the point where there are things that I will struggle with. So I decided to do the smart thing and just buy the smaller case so I can mount it to the desk the way that I want to. New graphics card and a new power supply, because I was going to need that with a new graphics card. And I got it here, and I looked into everything. My plan was to just take all of the old parts out, put them in the new computer. Easy. I don't have to disconnect the cooler. I can just do it all at once. I even made sure that the cooler was going to fit in the new case. Guess what doesn't fit in the new case?
The cooling system.
The cooler. Yeah, that I very specifically made sure did fit. It doesn't fit. It rests on top of the RAM, which is a very bad thing to have.
That's not ideal.
So I was like,
No.
So in the end, I was like, well, I'll stuff it. And I was having to buy a new cooler. I was like, I'm just going to upgrade. It's what I want to do anyway. So I spent more money. And everything, I ordered it, and I ordered it to pick it up yesterday. I made sure everything was in stock. And because my plan was that I was going to build it last night. The problem was that I arrived to pick it up, and the CPU wasn't in stock. I had to wait for it. It won't be here till Monday. Or Tuesday, because Monday's a public holiday. The guy told me it would be Monday, but I think he forgot about the public holiday, which is fine. And that meant that I have no computer. Because my old computer is pulled apart. Could I put it back together? Yes, but I wasn't going to have time to put it back together between then and when we record. And then also, can't really do that without liquid cooling everything. Which I could have thrown it together and just taken the risk. I wasn't doing that, because that's just a bad idea for anybody that has
Yeah.
And could I spend money on it would be even if I had to put it all together, I probably wouldn't have had the time to have it finished before 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, and then I'm not awake for the recording today. So I reached out to George yesterday as early as I connected all the dots and was like, George, you're going to have to do everything tomorrow, because I have no computer. I have nothing. So unlike these two buggers, which will go and play with dogs and take the week off and will have family over, or say he'll have family over so that he doesn't have to bother recording. I'm still here with no computer, no nothing.
To be fair though, too, Bruce, for those paying close attention to the video version of this, the window with the web screen, with the website, right, and then our three windows above that. For a while, you were Major Socks, and Socks was the Bruce, and I changed those names during the recording. I sat there and looked over that, and I was just like,
well done.
Those aren't right. So I added those on the
To be fair, I have made that mistake before. Socks was Brother Bear in one episode at one point. And I didn't even notice until like a week after the podcast was live or something, because I didn't even see it.
That's funny.
Michelle pointed it out. It feels like something Michelle would have pointed out. So yeah, I've had a kind of frustrating couple of weeks. I have a hobby day coming up on Tuesday though, and I'm going to put some more work into my Entropy City table, because I built all of this stuff and I did all of the foam work for everything, and it's been sitting on a chair out there for like 4 months. So I'm going to paint it I have a week off, so I'm going to try and get that done on Tuesday. I want to at least get it primed so I can start putting the cement and everything down.
You probably need to worry about it getting too cold to prime now too, huh? Or
it's foam, so I have to do it by hand anyway.
Oh, okay.
We've been at the point of being too cold to use spray cans for a little while. But even though you can still work around that, you just leave them in hot water for a little while. Well, you leave them in warm water for a little while to warm up first. Or that's all you need to do to get around that.
Or you just buy airbrush primer and run it through an airbrush.
Yeah. But I'm just commenting on what you...
If you have an airbrush. I should... I thought you had an airbrush, but...
I do have an airbrush. I've had problems with it. But even then, I, generally speaking, won't use an airbrush on terrain. Because MDF just soaks it up too much, I find. I still find that you're better off using a spray can on MDF terrain, personally. But because there's foam involved in this, I can't anyway. So
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, that's it. I haven't had a chance to do... I showed off my finished Burrows and Badgers last episode. Oh, no. I did finish something. I had everything done, with the exception of... I hadn't actually finished... Where's my camera? There.
Right there.
I hadn't actually finished the cat. She's all done, and the hat is done, and the full crew is all ready to go.
Is that one of
Eugene
your...
still hasn't painted his stuff.
Is that one of your display case bases there?
Yep. These are the ones I bought from that Kickstarter a couple of years ago.
Nice.
I still highly recommend these. They are phenomenal. If you're outside of the US, postage is a bit expensive, but they are a phenomenal product. I would highly recommend them. Yeah, so yeah. Eugene still hasn't painted his stuff, and it's like 3 things away from being touched. But Eugene, I don't care about Infinity. I want to play Burrows and Badgers. Paint your Burrows and Badgers. I'm poking the bear. It doesn't help, but I'm poking the bear.
Speaking of poking the bear...
Cream, glue, prime, paint.
George, did you just play the hobby talk again?
Oh, I did, yeah.
Talk nerdy to me.
Oh, God.
Good
So
job.
this is a subject that might... So some people are going to find this controversial, I think. But it's not why I want to talk about it. AI is kind of something that is a very hot topic for some people. Either it's just a tool that people can use, or it's a scam that people are taking advantage of. I would kind of... Like, that's not really the subject of today. Like, AI in tabletop gaming is what I want to discuss. but this is something that we are starting to see more of. And I would argue we're only going to see more of at this point. For both good and bad reasons. I just kind of I thought it was probably worth discussing. Because this is another one of those subjects that there's not really a wrong answer to this. Because at the end of the day, AI is just a tool.
So
I would argue ultimately it depends on how it's used. I'm certainly not a fan of artists not being paid, which is what people.
that's my big complaint there. So
Yeah.
I know back when you were doing your first demo, and you were needing something. I know we did work on generating some images for you, just to get you something because
I was very clear about what I was doing at that point.
Yeah,
which was that I was only doing this as placeholder material
because
I needed something, and I can't draw.
As I can't draw either socks unless you've got some hidden amazing talents.
Nope.
Knowing people who can draw it's one of those things where it's a talent and skill that has varying and drastic levels of skill and degree. You got some of these guys where XKCD, right? He could do his stick figures in like a heartbeat because he's been doing it for years now, and it's simple for him. But then a local guy for you, well, local-ish because you're in the same continent, Jazza, he's got a well established YouTube channel. The man is brilliant. Like, I've seen him do everything from very cartoony stuff to very what's the word, like action figure, like comic book type stuff, which is very so and people, like, the more they can do, the better they are, the more they cost, and that's just the simple nature of it. There's a triangle, fast, good, cheap. Gotta pick two.
You can only have two of three. Yeah.
If you wanted something that was good,
one of those things that. No, you're right. Finish what you're saying.
I was gonna say, and you were in the situation of, you had to be cheap, and it needed to be fast, so you couldn't get anything good.
At that point, I literally didn't have any way of doing anything else.
So
it was the only option I had.
Yeah.
I actually do have options now, but I'm waiting because my game is also not at a point where I'm trying to get it published.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting, this is a topic that's not about me. This is just the easiest way for us to discuss it.
It's the most recent situation we have intimate knowledge of.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of On Tabletop's interviews last weekend was with a company that was releasing a game that, while I'm talking about this, I'm going to try and look up the video. I don't remember what the game was called, but basically, there were some elements of this game that I really liked. They had, like, the actual start of the game and actually placing your miniatures on the table was almost a mini game in and of itself. It was played in like a 2x2 table, and like I would place my miniature here. It had to be so far away from all of the objectives, but then I would place my miniature here in the perfect spot, and then Socks can also place his miniature, but it has to be at least 8 inches away from mine. And then I would place my next miniature, and it has to be at least 8 inches away from both of those miniatures. And so, as you're setting up the table, your options get fewer and fewer. It's a really cool idea. I don't know about the rest of the game, but that part of the game is really cool. But this particular game had been developed using AI. And they weren't hiding that, so props, because I know that there are some companies out there that are trying to use AI and also trying not to be open about it. It's usually pretty obvious. But they were openly talking about how AI had been used as part of its development. So they obviously had core ideas, and they've used AI to sculpt those out, essentially. that is obviously going to have some strong opinions. Like, I already know people that won't touch it purely because that's how the game's been developed.
So
because people see it as lazy.
I'm going to jump back in here. So with my job, we are trying to. I don't know how far we're going in with it now, but we were using an AI assistant to help us with our troubleshooting and technical work. And it wasn't great at it. It was great at gathering information and regurgitating it.
Yep.
The information I was gathering and regurgitated is stuff that I've done and my coworkers have done. It's nothing it has come up with. So,
yep.
In an aspect like that, sure, it's fine, it's great. It's like a Google search engine, but it's a very fine scalpel where you can be very, very specific, and it will search a very, very specific spot. And that's okay because of how we're trying to utilize it and use it. Now for this, using it to design a game, it's still AI. It still works the same way. So that means everything they've done, and this is not necessarily wrong, unless they have just taken it straight from what it's found and have implemented it and essentially used someone's idea.
Yeah.
And that's the danger here. So depending on who's using this AI, will depend on how closely. There are people out there that are just generating AI art and then using it in projects and so forth. I don't specifically have an issue with that unless they're claiming otherwise. If somebody is using it and openly admitting that's what it is, I don't have a problem with that. It's when people are doing it and they're trying to hide the fact that they've done it that I have problems. Which is happening a lot.
I think there needs to be a third caveat on that too, is when they're using it and they're getting monetization out of it too, because AI does not come up with anything.
It's happening.
AI just goes out, searches for everything, and regurgitates back to you based on, a set of keywords you've given it. It hasn't created anything. Yeah. It's taken it from all these other sources, combined it together to make something original. At some point, what the heck just happened there? Why do I have balloons flying?
You have balloons going up the screen. Happy birthday, George!
Apparently the AI was listening to me and got pissed.
No, that's because you've done a hand gesture of some point that your Apple has responded to.
Oh, no, it's Discord. It happened at Discord.
Oh, maybe JP did it then.
So,
because JP's now.
Well, yeah, it could have been something I did on the screen too, but yeah, I just noticed balloons were flying. But it goes
to his knowledge, he did
it. JP did do it?
No, he said not to my knowledge.
Oh, but it goes to
blame George.
These people are using AI to build something, to sell something, to get money, and yes. If you're creating something, Bruce, and we're going to use you the example because we have intimate knowledge of this, you're trying to work very hard to develop a unique, your own system and style that is as far removed from anything else that you know of.
Yes, deliberately. Because I want my world to be mine. Like, there is argument to be said, and I'm not saying otherwise, like, everything in tabletop has been done before.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has been done before. But that doesn't mean that I can't make a concerted effort to make something that is completely and wholly unique and of its own.
And by using...
if all I'm doing is ripping off Games Workshop, then, well, I'm never going to be successful.
And by using AI to do that, you're using a tool to go and rip off whatever else is out there instead of trying to come up with it and make it as unique and yours as possible. You're just telling a intelligent piece of software, I want something that does this. And it goes through and it pulls all these other sources and regurgitates that for you.
Yeah. Now, it is also worth, I'm going to say this again, up until this point, AI, like as far as the game itself has been concerned, I haven't used AI. I generated some images just to try to use as placeholders and try to give people an example of like the idea of what I'm trying to create, like the world and so forth. If anything, the one thing I've discovered when I was doing that was that AI doesn't like motorbikes. It's not very good at them. I mean, AI is not good at a lot of things art-wise, which is also one of the benefits of it, is because you can actually pick the faults in, like, because it can't do hands notoriously. In saying that, that is a problem that AI will fix at some point.
Some of these
the
AI
other-
images
the
I've
other
been seeing,
standout-
they've gotten way better. So
Yeah. The other thing that can be done with AI is that, like, if I was using AI for anything, I'm not, and like again, if this becomes a product, I don't want AI art in my game at all. That's a personal choice that I am making, because when it comes to art, I want to support artists because they deserve it. But if I did, but one of the common things that people do is they will use AI to generate an image, and then they will touch it up in Photoshop so that it looks like a real piece of artwork. And yes, I did just say that out loud. AI art is not real art. It is a generated image. It's my personal opinion. There are people that will argue with me on that. I could get a text for saying that. But it's just one of those things. Like I said initially, it's a topic. It doesn't have to be a controversial topic, though. I mean, at the end of the day, it is still just a tool. But because you're talking about art, it's a tool that, like, everybody will have an opinion on. Most people have a very negative opinion. Not everybody. Like I said, I don't specifically have an issue with AI-generated images, so long as they're being used honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's when people are trying to, like, Major Socks wants an image of a ship that's flying through the air, and so he, knowing that I'm an artist, which I'm not, but like he pays me $50 to make this image for him, and then I spend three seconds in an AI thing that generates it, and then sell it back to him, and I don't tell him that that's what I've done. Now this is happening all the time at the moment, which is why people have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sort of stuff that I have problems with. At this particular point in time, AI art is usually fairly obvious, because it's usually too polished, and there's a few things that kind of make it stand out. Like they tend to be really shiny and stuff, unless you're telling it to do like watercolor and things like
Yeah. So
that.
now here's one thing I'm gonna interject in where I think AI could be a really good thing for the gaming industry, but this is a very, very specific thing here. So not too long ago, there was a campaign I looked at. It was a Vampire the Masquerade, and it has a digital component where you have to have an app to use that. For a very narrative, driven game, you got those books where read this part at this point, and it mostly fits and works pretty good, right? Versus like, say the game had a devoted AI client, where you have these scenarios happen, and then it can generate the story based on that, and it can then start to vary and evolve based on what's happening, versus going off specific keys in a game book that don't change and are never unique. It's the same thing as you go through it.
Yeah. So I was,
And then
you just brought up
you go.
to mind U-Boot from Phalanx Games. It has a game app that you play along with the game with your little submarine crew, and in the programming of the app, it can pick up sounds. So as you're playing together with your teammates, manning the submarine, it can pick up your voice and your communication, and then change the aspects of the game based on what's happening there on the table. So in some ways, I think it can be used positively, like you were just saying. It can kind of change the story, whereas this one, it can kind of change your U-boot hunting Allied convoys in the Atlantic. So based off of the game aspects that you're doing in the game itself on the board.
the good in video games, AI has been used for a long time because that's kind of how they work. And I mean, one of the big problems in video games now is that if you release something that's kind of half finished, then it's half finished. But also the benefit is that you can now fix it after the fact with patches and updates. Tabletop gaming has that with like FAQs and that side of things, but you could quite literally, like, if you have a game that has an AI component with how it plays, you could quite easily fix rebalances and stuff by feeding your created algorithm with whatever the problem is and whatever the solution is.
Yeah.
It's probably more of a board game than a war game thing, that though, where you're trying to play against an AI opponent and trying to make the AI opponent not feel robotic is where AI is going to eventually help. Talking about AI not looking robotic is hilarious at this point, I realize that. But AI is only going to get better at it. I mean, we don't live in the world of a Facebook bot trying to convince you that it's a real person by questioning what you mean with a question about them being real all the time. Like, you can actually get a bot that will actually pretend that it's angry and stuff nowadays. Again, part of the problem. But in the case of, if you have a board game or a one-player war game, AI is definitely going to help in that stuff. I would also argue that the first few people that genuinely make an effort to do something with this tool are probably going to fail the first few. Because that's generally how these things tend to work. I mean, unless somebody gets really, really lucky and manages to get it right the first time, but that generally doesn't happen. That's definitely a benefit to it. Like, AI will help create things that don't exist in this particular. Like, you can't play a war game by yourself at this stage. Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, Sox could sit there with two armies and play both of those armies, but generally speaking, he will end up favouring one over the other without even really thinking about it, because that's just how the brain works.
Yeah.
If you're playing against an AI opponent, there will eventually be a legitimate opponent there. One that he may eventually really struggle to defeat, unless it's been programmed to deliberately have flaws in its game plan, which would also change. I reckon we're probably another decade away from an AI being smart enough to actually have deliberate flaws at this point. That would be like something interesting to me. But I'm not really interested in playing against a chess computer. That is boring to me. But being able to play by myself in a game against an opponent that doesn't know everything, that could be a lot of fun. Especially for someone like George that lives in the middle of nowhere and nobody lives in his house because he doesn't exist.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think that's the benefit of with the AI stuff, is it will actually eventually open tools. I mean, we kind of touched on this already, but it's also a tool for people that don't have skills to try to, again, this is not what I'm doing, but we keep on using this example. If I wanted to publish Entropy City in 6 months' time, and I didn't want to develop the tools to be able to do artwork myself and miniatures myself, in theory, I could use AI to try and cover those bases. Now, again, I don't want to do that, but if I wanted to publish something myself, AI as a tool that could help me do that fairly cost effectively, I would probably turn off a lot of people that was potentially interested by doing that. Because trust me, there is a large part of the gaming community that will not touch your game if AI is involved. That is genuinely a thing in the market right now. It doesn't necessarily make it wrong, because I also know people that are doing that don't know that. People should be able to use the tools at their advantage to try and make a business. Whether it works or not is another question.
Yeah.
But
like I said, it'll be interesting. I think that game you were talking about though at the beginning of the segment of they were using AI to design that. That's not how I want to see
which
it
is
used.
Code Blade, by the way.
It was what?
Code Blade is the game Code Blade is the name of the game that I was talking about.
Yeah, AI should not be used like that. I mean, it's
they were very open. Like they have said that it's AI augmented design, which means that AI has been used in the development of the game. All of the art is AI as well. It's very, very clear that that's the case. Like it's not hidden. So this is two people that have used AI to fill in gaps of areas that they don't have skills in, by the look of it. Which, so long as they're honest about it, I don't have a problem with it. I do have other problems with the design, but it's not for the topic. I don't know. It's an interesting topic, and unfortunately a topic that nobody has soft opinions and no opinions of. But I thought it was worth, because this is something we are going to see more of.
absolutely.
Yep.
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
Short list this fortnight. Gen Con 8.1 through 8.4 in 2024, so that's coming up here in a couple months. And then PAX Australia, the 11th through the 13th of October.
Congratulations to George to being the only American that can read dates the right way around.
I have to read 4 different date formats on a daily basis usually.
I know. I'm just.
That's it for upcoming events. If you've got something you want us to know about, shoot us an email and we'll talk about it. Thank you for those who've tuned in. Our Patreon, who's in the chat chatting with us. Corvus Belly is currently training him to write dates correctly. But we also want to give a shout out to Valhalla Hobby for sponsoring this episode and us. It does a lot for us as far as maintain the site, maintain the online storage for all the episodes. It's a great business. They have great shipping, great prices, a great selection. Virtually everything I have looked for, I have found it, and if they don't have it, it's either because it's out of stock or you can't get it anymore. Is what I found. The Fox Tribe for Bushido, they had it, they sold out. Guess what? It's back, and it's at a great price. And with our code tabled at checkout over an order of $100, you get 5% off. So definitely worth giving them a look if you're looking for something. I guarantee you when it's available, they'll have Armour Clash starter sets, and I guarantee you those will be over $100, and 5% off that. That's a great buy right there.
Good group of people, too.
Yep.
If you appreciate what we do, please share us out with other people that you think are like-minded. If you would like to contribute towards what we do in a more financial way, you can find us on patreon.com/gettingtabled. $2 a month gives you early access to any of the video content that we do.
Gives you access to the recording channel so you can listen to us live.
Yep, through Discord. It also gives you access to a unique Patreon channel on the Discord, as well as an Entropy City channel that's unique to them as well. That's where everything gets published first. It's probably arguably the most active channel on the Discord as well, the Patreon one. I mean, we are trying to make it conservative and talk everywhere in it as well, because there are other people that's not on Patreon, but the Patreon is the most active. The Patreon get access to the video edition of the podcast on the day that it's recorded. Generally, this one might be the day after. It depends on how well George goes. Whereas everybody else doesn't get to see it until Thursday. And they also get at least 24 hours access to 80 to 90% of every video we upload to YouTube before it goes live. So least 4 videos not live at this stage that they've had access to quite a while. One of which is Dropsquad Commander related. There will eventually be a second one that will be uploaded when I eventually get my computer up and running again. And they will not be going live until the campaign goes on YouTube. So it goes on Kickstarter. So just to give you an idea of how early some of that stuff is, it's kept behind. That's been kept behind closed walls because at this stage, if I'm going to contribute, I'd like to contribute when it means most to the game. If you want to reach out to the team, gettingtabled@gmail.com. Reach out to us about what you would like. Find us on social media. Facebook is at facebook.com/gettingtabled. It's the most active that we have. We also do have Instagram and Twitter at gettingtabled. You can... I'm forgetting. YouTube.com/gettingtabled is where all the video content goes. Please subscribe. We have...
The email is gettingtabled at... Yeah, email is gettingtabled@gmail.com.
Yep, which I said already.
No, you said the website.
I have a Twitch. Did I?
Yeah, yeah.
The website is where you'll find links to all of the content that's been discussed on today's episode. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JasonTheBruce. Obviously, it's offline at this stage because my computer is offline. Once it's online, you can be guaranteed that I will be spending some time on Twitch because I actually have this week off. Also, I want to play around with my computer when it gets running. And if you have interest in other things outside of tabletops, if you're into action figures, then check out ToyReel at youtube.com/ToyReel. I mentioned last episode that there's a really big interview with Hasbro Australia where they talk about some significant things that didn't get known until it had been revealed, whether deliberately or otherwise, during the 40th anniversary in Sydney. There's also a really cool interview with one of the brand managers at Roberson, which are the people that's making like the real-life transforming robots. There's an Optimus Prime, there's a Megatron, there's a Grimlock that actually transform and everything. They're really, really cool. They're really expensive too, because of course they are.
Aren't they working on a Megatron as well?
The Megatron is on the Megatron's in the video.
Okay.
And yes, that's on pre-order right now. I don't really want it. Can't afford it, but I'd really want. Can't afford a $2,000 toy. I'm sorry, I'm not in that market. But it's really, really cool. Again, thank you to those that support us, whether it's listening or whether it's by contributing in a more financial way. We appreciate you. Thank you to George for covering the fact that I physically couldn't do this today. And thank you to Socks for being a generally better human being than everybody else in the planet.
Yep. That's all I can do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matthias at soundimage.org.
Play more games.
Don't roll ones.